I sent you the video on WhatsApp, and the text I got back was, "How honest would you like me to be?"
It's always worrying when you get that message, isn't it? And the first thing I wanted to do after that was to give you a ring. I had to call you. And I know everybody loves WhatsApp and email, but I realised I sent that fatal words, "How honest do you want me to be?" And that was just the beginning. So we've been to a podcast, we'd got to know each other, and you sent me this promo video for Auden, and you said, what do you think of this? And that's when I had to respond, because I watched it. It must have been 2.5 minutes. And I watched it and I was thinking, oh shit. That's what I was thinking. It was, oh shit. Because it was really professional. It was really nicely put together. As videos go, it was well put together. Production on it was good. But it just wasn't you. It was like, it just didn't have your personality. And for me, what's the reason to go to a great restaurant? What's the reason to work with a business? It's the brand and the personality. And I was looking at this video going, where's Scott? He's there, but he's not there. And I think that was one of those moments where I was like, I could just text back going, yeah, this is great. It'll do really well. But I just thought, sometimes you have to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
This is like business therapy, right? Because the reason I sent it to you was because deep down, I knew it was a disaster. And I had spent all this money on it.
I know.
And ironically, my wife had already told me it was a disaster. And
she's normally right.
I desperately wanted someone to say to me, she's wrong. But I knew it was right, and I needed someone else to tell me. And that's where you came in with your brutal honesty.
If I'd actually thought about it, I would have just sent you this. Don't be boring, because that video was so boring. It was like, and the thing about it, when it comes to Auden, this is an organisation, and you yourself, you've got all this personality. I'm looking at this video going, where is it? It was shite. And I wanted to put that in the message, but I thought, I know he spent a load of money making this, and I could tell how hard he's worked at it. How honest do you want me to be? And that was, I'd say, the start of a beautiful business friendship that is. And I think sometimes you need that blind spot revealing. Mm. And I think your wife had revealed it, and I think you were like, please say it's good, even though I know it's shit. And it was shit.
Yeah. Right, at that point, Ethan, we should play some of the video.
Oh gosh, no.
Hotel, restaurants and bars were once the trailblazers of the culinary world. Think Singapore sling, lobster thermidor, pina colada, the brownie and the eggs benedict. They all originated within iconic hotels. You don't think?
Well, you know, I mean, it'd be do you know what?
It should cut and go. And just do a little bit of the thing of the video, and then it should come back. We believe that every exceptional project starts with a dynamic between innovators and doers. Our passion for creativity drives us to create exceptional experiences that captivates your guests, while our dedication to execution ensures that we bring these experiences to life. We understand that the key to success lies in the perfect blend between creativity and operational excellence, and that's where we think differently.
But right, this is the conversation, because you're walking around Covent Garden, like bobbing along, and then you're in that nice restaurant in Covent Garden, and I'm looking at the video going, this is really professional, but there's just no personality, and it was like, where is it? And yes, we need to look at the video just to see it, and I think sometimes you need to see the bad stuff to get to the good stuff. And I think there's this little bit when it comes to brand personality or social media, all of this stuff, that people expect perfection. They expect perfection. And I think it was earlier on this year, I went to see Hamilton at the theatre. Oh my gosh, that show's incredible. Like, the amount of work that the actors and the whole performance does is incredible. But it didn't just happen like that. It's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of practice. And I think we were talking before about 10,000 hours to become really good at something. And I look at some of the social media I put out and I cringe at the old stuff. But in order to get to the stuff where I am now, you have to do that. And I think what was great about that video, and there is a bit of great in there, was that you did it. Because if you hadn't have done it, you would have stayed where you are. And it's the same with where you are now. You're in a much different place because you did almost the crap stuff. And I feel like that with my social media. I was flicking through my Instagram and looking at some of the stuff I was doing a year and a half ago, and I'm dying inside. But then there's that bit where you look at the bits that you're really proud of. To get there, you have to go through a process. And I think that the shit video that you made has allowed you to get to the place where you are now, which is actually a real true reflection of who you and your business are. And for me, my job's to help you get there. My job's to make you more amazing. And then I've seen that evolution in you, and it's, oh, thank goodness you're not making crap like you did then. Because the stuff at the moment is really good.
So basically, then, what we knew from seeing that video is it wasn't about the bad presenting, and it wasn't about the bad editing.
Correct.
It was about the whole element of how the brand was ready to evolve, and what seeing it in that bad video brought to life was, I need to do more than just try and create a video here, because what I'm trying to do with the video was fundamentally position Auden in a very different way to what I had before. And the way I explain it is, I'd gone from almost selling the dream for a period of time to, and this is, we're looking at around 2 years of running the business, to actually now having the projects, having the client logos, having people starting to work for us. And what it actually meant was we were ready to evolve as a business into the next stage, which is why when I looked at that video after my brutal honesty from both yourself and my wife, it was like, we need to do more and go back to the drawing board of what the brand is, what it stands for, what we want it to become, why we want it to be different. And that's where we set off on the journey together to do this. And what I want to get over to people today is that whole element of, it's okay to evolve, it's okay to change, it's okay to relook at brand and how you position yourself out to the market, because evolution is good. And I want to try and take people through the journey today so that they can see where we've come to from where we started, because it's been a crazy 12 months when you think of
it's gone very
what's
quickly.
Happened.
Yes,
as well.
and I think that evolution's a really good way of putting it. I think you as a business were evolving, and I think what you were looking for was almost that. Here's a video of where we are now. And before, I always think there's a little bit that before you invite your guests to the party, you need to get your house in order.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit where I often say to people, sometimes you need to look backwards to go forwards. And I think there was this little pause that we put in and went, okay, what is it that you do? What is it you stand for? All of these questions. And there was this little bit where, I got to know you, got to know your business, and I was looking at that video going, this is not a reflection of who you are. This very well put together, the production, all the rest of it, great. But there's this little bit where sometimes you need to go backwards. Why did you set the business up? What are the values behind it? And there are all of these questions that when you start building those out and really getting that understanding of who you are, who you serve, why you do it, and all of these elements to it, then that's what you share with the world. Because there's this little bit where it almost felt like it was not being rushed, but you were trying to get out the message without fully understanding what it is you did and who you served, and all. Not so you understand who you serve, but almost who you are and what you stood for. And by going backwards, going, well, why did you set the business up? What are your beliefs? All of a sudden, this magic just came out of you, that we created this DNA for the business to help explain who Auden was. And I think sometimes people look for the tagline, or they look for the fait accompli. Well, actually, you need to build the whole menu. You need to build the whole structure.
Yeah.
And it was actually pausing and starting that journey that's allowed you to get to where you are now.
Do you remember what I told you when you asked me why I'd set up the business?
I think there was quite a lot of swearing.
It was, I don't want to work with dickheads, was the exact thing.
And I remember saying
it was my only non-serious part of the whole conversation.
And I remember saying to you, there's a brilliant book all about culture, all about the New Zealand rugby team. And there's a whole chapter in this book all about culture. And the New Zealand rugby team have a whole chapter called No Dickheads. And I think what's really interesting is when you start to understand the personality of a business, it makes it so much easier to talk about. And I think there was this little bit with you guys where if we could pull the personality out, share that. Because I think even before we got to that point, I asked you to go and talk to your customers. Why do you work with us, and what do you get from us? And sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between those two things, why they work with us and what they get. And sometimes as a business, we think the two things are the same. So why do you go to a restaurant? Oh, people want to eat good food. Well, actually, as a consumer, I want to go to a restaurant, no washing up. I want to have a good time. I want to celebrate something. And for me, that's very, very different to going to having a meal. Mm. And I think when you start to really get under the skin of a business and probing and finding these things out, that gives you the keys for you to then go and to build the DNA and to share the business. And for me, it was very much about, right, what is Auden built on? What makes it special? What makes it different? You know, what do people get from it? And starting asking question after question after question, you start building up a picture of the true reflection as to what you do. And
I remember a phone call that we had because one of the big things that we were talking about as part of the overall DNA was being more bold.
Yeah.
And the whole mantra around how we have the phrase think differently, and challenging people to do that, because I truly believe it's something that everyone in hotel food and beverage should be doing.
And I challenge you to do it for yourself.
For sure. And we had a conversation around, are you sure you want to be bold? And do you know what that means?
Yeah.
And I remember where it was. I was in Leeds at the time, and I was outside. I think it was about 55 minutes, and we were chatting through it. And towards the end, I remember saying, if someone isn't willing to be bold, maybe they're not the right client, guest, customer for us. Because if they aren't going to believe in what we can bring and what we can do differently, then maybe they should go with the people who are going to do what they want them to do. Yeah. And I think it was an amazing moment to an extent of being able to go quite confidently. And I know you challenged me for 50 minutes to make sure I was definitely saying the truth. That I was kind of sitting there going, actually, I'm going to make that turning point in a business from taking anything to earn ends meet to actually going, no, we know our
it's quite liberating,
guest,
isn't it?
We know our client now, and we know who we should work with, who we shouldn't. Because before that, I would have gone to an opening of an envelope if it had paid me, because it was about surviving. And then all of a sudden, the work on the DNA, the work on the structure, the work on the mantra, the work on who we wanted to be internally, culturally, actually then transpired into who are the people who are right to work with us and who aren't. And I think it's a really interesting moment that out of all the DNA and all the elements of that what came out of it was not only how do we be more like Auden, but how do we find the guests who are like Auden as well.
And I think what was so poignant about that is it's actually really liberating. And I think when you first set up a business, you have to take everything to make ends meet. Lots of people do that. And I think where it becomes interesting is what you learn from it. And seeing you, and I did push you hard on that, because there's people that go, oh, we're bold, or and then you go there and you're like, really? And that's why I push you so hard on it, because if you're going to say that, you need to live and breathe it. And I think what's really interesting when you work with a company, or you work with a business, or you're a consumer of a business, and you can see the DNA, do people actually live up to what they say they are? And that's why I was pushing you so hard on it. And when you were like, yeah, I was like, there was a little bit of me inside that was really relieved that you were going down that route. And that's why I push you so hard on it, because we used to have I work with a brilliant guy that used to challenge things, and we'd put it up on a board and we'd go up to the idea and we would kick the living shit out of an idea. And if it could survive being kicked, then we knew it was a good idea. And that's what I did with you. I wanted to kick you for 50 minutes to see if you could survive. And what's really interesting, because of that, you survived the kicking, which means the idea was true. And I think, how many times as a business do we have ideas and we go, well, that's nice, but is it really us? And sometimes where we are and where we think we are different places. What was really interesting about that conversation with you was it was almost a relief for you, but it was also a relief for me, because I was thinking, yeah, this is where I know he could be. This is where I know the business could be. Can they live up to it? And you most certainly have.
And as part of the exercises we do with the Start, Stop, Continue, myself and Bal were together the other week, and we were doing our Start, Stop, Continue. One of the things that came up from like reviewing the business was how, because sometimes the ideas are a bit more bold and not necessarily what the client was expecting, it takes us longer to sell in, or we have to do more storytelling. We maybe have to have more conversations. We have to maybe go into more granular detail than we would do if we were just giving over a concept that everyone knows and understands. And I think what we then looked at that was when we were actually over-delivering on a lot of scopes, because we were having to go into more detail that was in the next level of scope, because we had to do more selling and more storytelling. And that was to bring it to life visually, menus, OS&E, uniforms, music, a lot more detail. So what we actually then looked at was going, okay, our principle is let's be bold. We want to keep pushing people to be uncomfortable. Regardless of where it ends up, we want people to be there. And if that takes a bit more selling in, we need to readjust how we're working from a scope of work proposal stage to go, do you know what? We know we're going to push. So we know we're going to need to over-deliver. So let's bring that over-delivery forward so that we know we're going to deliver something. This is what we're going to deliver in stage one. And it's helped us, knowing that bold element is such a big part of what we do. And we're going to talk about branding soon, because we delivered that through the brand as well, was we had to change the way we work versus our competitors potentially, because we know we need to do more storytelling. And I think that's what's interesting from that DNA element is once you click on going, we are bold, when you look at that and go, what does it take to be bold? You've
got to live and breathe it. And I think this is what's really interesting about the DNA. If you're truthful and honest with it, you live and breathe it. So if I'm going to go and push people, say, right, you need to get out on social media and you need to be there, I need to make sure I'm doing it because it's something that I believe in. So I'm there doing it 3 times a week. That's no different to you guys saying, right, if we're going to be bold, we know it's going to push our clients. We need to bring more time in to do this. But there's that little bit where it becomes part of your reputation. It becomes part of your DNA. It becomes what you're known for. And I think for me, once you really have that deep understanding of who you are and what you are, and that's what we needed to pull out of you, was who you are, what you stand for, that whole mantra, then all of a sudden you've got this toolkit that is real. And I think what's so interesting, how many times have we been to businesses and we've been a little bit underwhelmed because what they say and what they do are different things. What was fascinating about working with Auden was when we started putting the stories out, they were true. And this whole idea of thinkers and doers and all these other ways of explaining it, you guys live and breathe that, which is why you're doing the interesting work you're doing, which is why you're getting invited to all these different conferences, which is why you're having these interesting conversations with interesting people, because people know that your DNA and the product are aligned. And I think there's that little bit where if you deliver on your promise, if you deliver on that brand promise, then you build up that reputation and you get to do interesting work.
And Q1 2026, get ready, because we've got 3 projects that are going to be the anchors of everything that we've created from a brand perspective opening, and I'm really excited for that.
My name's Scot Turner. I run a hospitality agency. We work with hotels and we do food and beverage strategies for hotels.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to create different reasons for people to engage with the F&B in the hotels at different times of the day, and that's become much more important. What a lot of people forget is the simple things that cost no money sometimes go a long way. How do we create moments that people want to tell others about because it was so good?